Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Thomas Sim, E3009. Today is 14th of September 2023. As you notice, I have received my number. I would use 3009 as my number. Today, the span of about 2 months since July, I have stopped doing video taking until now, which is mid of September, partly also due to some of the issues with the registration and also busy with other things. So therefore, there was no video recording for the last 1.5 months. Also, the last video was about candidates sitting for the exam, and now today, as of September 14, the board diploma in estate agency examination was held last week. So the exam completed last week. I have heard about some of the news on questions, how the question looked like. As apparently, as was expected, some of the questions were repeated. On the examination related matters, I would update in the website, and if I can get a hand on to examination questions, I would update into the estateagentexam.com website. As of today, the topic will be, I have two topics, but the first topic will be on doing NGO work, more to society work, and some of the hurdles, some of the issues that we face in running a society. And of course, I have to mention that disclaim myself from MIEA, not just MIEA. I'm involved in another two other associations, partly also due to my earlier involvement in the medical industry. So anyway, today's topic will be on society as the first topic, and the second video taking later on will be on computer related, which is website building. Also, let me begin. Right, video taking 168, ethical business of a society. Today is 14th of September 2023. I am Thomas Sim, E3009. Anyway, E3009 means that I have gotten my registration number from the board. So on the 25th of July onwards, I am a registered estate agent. This topic on the issue of ethical business of a society, I like to say a few words before I begin. That is, it has nothing to do with the MIEA, or it has nothing to do with the association that I am joining. I am discussing this matter as of general topic of discussion on all the NGOs. I have joined many NGOs, including MIEA, as well as Hospice Society, Cancer Society also. Also, let me just explain some of the discussion point here. So anyway, about society is about a vocation, about a profession, or a trade, or a skill that is in the practice of that particular job, and therefore this society is formed to usually safeguard the rights of the practitioner. So this means that a group of practitioners come to a association and establish this society that would probably in the constitution fight for their rights. And there are other reasons that this society is been set up for, and including networking to know about who are the key person in the field, who are the people who are influential, either politically or in the business sense. So most of the NGO work usually would have its good cause. That means to help certain people, and also to safeguard the majority participations, their rights. Lawyers would have their bar council, medical associations would have their doctors, and you have other different engineers, professional bodies that has their own associations that carry out their activities, and of course to safeguard their rights ball. And of course there are issues that sometimes there are overlapping areas where well, a doctor A may do certain job that is prescribed in the law, but then, well, another types of doctor B may be also doing the same job, which is maybe in a gray area. So whether Dr. A would have to claim that his profession safeguard his right to do that particular job, and therefore Dr. B cannot do the same job, which is a blur area lah. Sometimes all this dispute in the idea of whose area is this is actually a difficulty in association or a society so that is in the medical industry. Similarly, in the law related practices, many years has passed and we have many changes to the law as well as the regulations. Then some of this older law that has not been deleted, there are some areas which now the new professions actually should take over, but the older profession says that it is still their right to practice that particular area of law. So these are issues where government may have to bring that up into enactment or a new amendment to the law. But again, the older, the more established group of practitioners would want to safeguard their rights. So this is a bit of a background on what is happening also sometimes in the sense cross-border overlapping areas. The bar with the remuneration changes, the amendment to the remunerations included clause, and in fact this clause has been there for many years about them selling estate or properties for their clients, and this they can charge up to 3% their fee as in providing this service to dispose the property of their client. And this in fact is actually been in the sense practiced by the lawyers, because they previously have no estate agents also to handle this type of deals, and they actually act for their distressed client, especially distressed in the sense they have maybe matrimonial issue and there are claims and therefore they have to dispose of, and also in the situation of distressed corporation and companies, they also need to liquidate, and distressed property need to be sold. So therefore they are involved in this area of work, which is now overlapping they claim to be overlapping. Therefore which area of law that is the government to decide whether there is a confusion, and therefore this part of a issue of joining a society, safeguarding the right of the particular practitioner may be an interesting discussion point today. Let me progress. So we talk about ethics and business, and I like to use medicine. So if you look at practicing as a medical doctor, then the ideal would be saving lives, reducing suffering. It's a selfless endeavor. It's forgiving type of job where even your patient has shouted at you, you are still forgiving and trying to do your best to reduce suffering and alleviate the pain of the patient. Although you may have private grudges and you hate this person so much, yet as a profession, as a medical professional, you do your job forgivingly and also forget the whatever grudges that you have on this matter. So it's a high moral standing type of profession. And then if you look at the current state of what is medicine in the real setting, well, it is a business, high cost investment where you talk about building up a facility for medical care. It is high tech and high cost. It's a risky investment. It's a kind of a million and billion of ringgit involved, and in the fact of doing drug discovery, you have all issues like competition. All the drug fails in a clinical trial, and you have patency expiry. You cannot recuperate, or you cannot get back your investment that you have thrown in for 20 years of investment of your shareholder money into the investigation of the disease and drug discovery. And these are big business risks and a barrier for market penetration. Of course, if you imagine the project that cannot fail, you have pushed in so much money and you have really wanting to harvest the outcome of the investment. So in that sense, if you look at the area of profession of medicine, then you can actually say this is a dilemma of profession versus its business. If you look at benefit versus the ideal of a selfless moral of helping the sick and the suffering patients, you talk about drug mega firms versus individual patients. Of course, the individual patient has very little influence, and big mega drug companies actually can do wonders, so they can even control the politics and even control the economy of country. So this issue about monopoly, issue about cannot afford, not able to afford the innovative medication, and this means that a lot of patients would want a copycat, want maybe a lower price mass production of equivalent biosimilars. So these are issues of premium price versus affordable cost of healthcare. So most people would say that, well, who doesn't want to be rich? If you have investment of mega magnitude of a drug invention, you want to get rich, right? So never anyone also want to suffer. And if in fact, if you have a good drug that can alleviate suffering, then most people would say, I would have I want this medication, even though maybe I would have to pay for it, and it should be something that I should be able to get. So these are, issue of dilemma between money as well as whether it is science to help the patient. So if you look at win-win situation, if in fact medicine should be a win-win situation, then it means that the doctor would want to get paid well and the patient will get healthy. And definitely this is the ideal scenario where, well, a doctor should be paid equivalent of the amount of effort he has put in, and the patient should get healthy because of the improved professionalism delivered to him by the medical care. But then the issue is if the doctor doesn't get paid well, does it mean that the patient should not get healthy? So in this opposite mirror image, it means a lot of time a challenging question onto our moral standard. Well, if a doctor doesn't get well paid, it doesn't mean that the patient will have to suffer. You see, the patient need to get better, but then the doctor doesn't need to be well paid, because it is his job, his expectation to deliver the job, whether he get paid or not. So in this situation, this is impossible. This is an equation that cannot equate each other, because well paid equal to healthy. This is a big question mark, whether if you are not wealthy, then should you not deserve a healthy life. So this is the target discussion of today, as in trying to use this scenario, an extreme of the issue of materialism in today's capitalist society, for the equation that never equals. If you use healthcare as an example, then the cost of healthcare being expensive for the rich people, most doctors cannot deliver their service to the poorer group of population. But then the poorer group of population are the one that is in need of this service. And this is the difficulty for the association or the society which is supposed to propagate or supposed to promote the general purpose of this profession is to help the population. So in agency practice, I want to give the similar discussion onto agency practice. Being that agency is actually a service, going in for a fee, delivering a service of matching a buyer and a seller, or matching a tenant and a landlord. So the part that is similar to healthcare is that there is a need for the healthcare, and in the case of estate agency practice, there is a need of a shelter or a investment. Also in this case, the healthcare part for estate agency practice will be the property for the purpose of having a property for shelter or for investment. So this estate agency practice, in similarity to healthcare, also has the issue of professionalism and the business aspect, a conflict of business as well as the profession. Being purchased for own use or for a part of reselling, making money out of it, or renting out, getting income from rental, or investing it for long-term appreciation of the capital gain, the core driver of this business, or in this case for this particular need of property is actually money generation. So it is a benefit, and because of this having a benefit due to the shelter and the investment purpose, the needs equivalent of healthcare scenario, a need of a human to have healthcare, the need of human to have shelter and investment, then the profession of estate agency practice is also faced with this issue of whether it is a business or it is a profession. So if you look at similarities, doctors make money because delivering the service. Is doctor a money making profession? Doctor, yes, is a money making profession. A lot of good doctors actually make good money. And healthcare as a medicine is also a money making machine, because healthcare is needed, it is a requirement. Similarly, for agent, many agents are actually making good money as well, because agents would match the owners and the buyers, as well as the tenant and the landlord, and all those service that is rendered, he is paid a handsome sum of money. Similar property, as in comparing to medicine or healthcare, is a money-making machine, because it is a need for a shelter as well as for a mode of investment. Right. So if you think about estate agency practice as a profession, then it has to be within a scope of a practice standard and doing the right thing. But that it's not about how much you make, because it's like you are a doctor. It's not about how much you make. Rather, it is about how good your practice can help the client or help the patient. There is supposed to be professionalism, and there is no sales talk, no hidden agenda, not misleading, not going in for cheating, no forecast, no creams above the cream, very beautiful future gains, and there's no over promise and nothing about I can adjust for you, boleh atur, semua boleh atur. All these types of sales talk and the sweet talks are actually degrading factor of the profession. However, the fact is that it is a business, because closing deal is the everyday thing of making money. So the buyer need to be aware, I am not responsible for you to make your decision to buy. You bought a property wrongly, that is your own problem. And a lot of agents and negotiators are promising big stories and a lot of opportunities. If you are not buying, then you're going to lose a lot of opportunity to make more money. So whether it is right or wrong is not important. The main thing is closing a deal. So a lot of time, estate agency practice become a business, not a profession. So which one sells better, which one is more successful, top sales will be highlighted. And the case of events and also awards that is given is all highlighting the success of the person and the success of the agency. So in all these big events, all these events of awards and special nights, all these highlight the fact that estate agency is a profession which makes a lot of money, and business is more than just being professional. So bigger team, bigger influence, bigger number, and bigger closing. Therefore, quality of work, professionalism of work has never been awarded as in the sense for a property conference. So in the case, I just use the same diagram for property to compare to healthcare. So you can see here the same diagram with the 3 triangles. population would be high who are poor, and then population would be small for those who are rich to afford properties. So if you are looking at properties that look at quality good estate agents, then the good and quality estate agents would put their work into the properties that is more expensive and harder to sell, and therefore the number of population that is able to afford this type of property will be very minimal. And doing the correct way, doing the professional way on these types of properties would be in fact against the general belief that I would want my property to be sold, more property to be sold, more money to be made onto a bigger population, which is sadly say in the top, which is poor estate agency practice. Because you cannot be doing good professional work onto something which it is there's no return. You're putting a lot of work on the very difficult to earn money, then it will be a challenge that a lot of people would turn away from this job because it spends a lot of time and the return is not attractive. So for this part, if you look at the moral value in the estate agency practice as in society or in general associations in the real estates, the issue is the driving factor for them to join this type of society and this type of associations is never the profession, because the profession itself pushing on to rules and regulation is going to handcuff them to be doing it as a business. So closing these deals usually is a minimal part on the quality of their work. It's more of whether they can quickly get a hot property and convince the owner to let them sell the hot property and try and work and try and close the sales by telling the owner that your price is high, I have a buyer who cannot buy so much, you have to reduce price or else you cannot sell. So these are issues if you look at how you represent your owner, you are actually getting paid by him, but you are not safeguarding his position. You are trying to tell him that quickly sell so that I can make money out of you. So this is how the situation of estate agency practice on the ground, and the people who are doing it think that it is a natural way of closing a deal. And therefore, if you ask this type of people to join the association which has got high level of professionalism, it goes against the professionalism of the society. So of course they will not see that as a benefit to join this society. So population is the issue because most people cannot afford expensive and good property, because properties are limited resource, and therefore most people who can afford not so expensive properties, they would want to cut the middleman fees and cut the cost of acquiring the property. They would rather have a lesser, not so good agent, as long as they get the property at a good price. So end up the agents who are doing their job is not getting well recognized, and therefore every one of them is trying to undercut each other, trying to cope just to get a certain leeway and a certain advantage over the competitor. So poor people usually wouldn't even have expectation of an estate agent that do safeguard their rights. The poor people would just anyone, just as long as you can get me a poor enough property, I'm fair with it, because I can't afford good value and a good quality. Estate agency is work for the rich people who can pay for the property. If there is no demand or ability to pay for the property, then definitely there is no ability to pay for the commission or the professional fee of the estate agency practitioner. So this is nature, as in the sense that the doctor who provide the service has to provide a service for a fee, and the rich people only able to afford paying for the special grade service, which is by specialist doctors. So this is a dilemma in a sense. Society that has this material exchange of the value definitely have to be burden of the society to pay for the service. So no members of the society is going to be involved in the business with no fees and no income. So of course, the driver of the society, being that it is a profession, we need to sort of embrace the types of mentality of the business. So when the business driver is not emphasized in the society, then definitely the part of the society will not be attractive to the practitioner, and the practitioner who come to this society will feel that the society is not fighting for them. So of course the networking in the society supposed to bring deals, but then the scenario of networking in the society sometimes doesn't serve the purpose of making deals. Of course the intention of making deals is good. In the medical society, this is a natural process for the juniors that is in the government trying to get the help of the seniors that who has gone into practice in the private sector. So of course by referring some of the able to pay patients in the government to the private sector for a better quality service, in the sense that the patient himself look for a quality service, then this networking is essential. Similarly, for the side that the private practitioners who has no time during busy work, they may want to refer some of the patient from the private side into the government sector for the reason of better care, due to government having more staff and more supports in the government sector to handle some of the difficult cases. So some of this networking by the medical profession actually allows this combination of needs from the private and the government sectors. But it's not the case in the other industries, as in the case of estate agency industry, because there is no government estate agency practice in the sense you can take over my customer who are unable to pay, and therefore you can do a job in the government to solve this issue that the rental of the situation where tenant cannot make money, tenant cannot make payment to the landlord, and then the issue of chasing out the tenant can be referred back to the government agency to get the government agency to help to settle this issue. So there is no such thing that is beneficial to the member of the society by having a networking that would benefit another party. So in this scenario, private practitioner types of society would not have adequate reason to ask the members to all comply with the rule and the regulation, but there is no business benefits of it. So this is the problem. And society in a way also is not a regulator, and they cannot affect the regulator in terms of changing the regulations. In the example just now, when the society cannot have material returns or rewards for their members, and then the society go up to the regulator and asking the regulator to intervene and try to expand their business ability of conquering better business, then the regulator would definitely face the pressure from the government and the public. The public thinks that the society is protecting the right of the practitioner and not protecting the right of the public, and the regulator is supposed to protect the right of the public rather than the right of the practitioner. So there is this issue of conflicting encounters when the profession meets the business aspect of its members. So now these conflicts, summarize it down as a moral value benefit in the business and the professionalism. So end up the society try to portray themselves as professionalism, but rather the members of the profession may not look at the professionalism as the main driver. The main driver is the business benefit, and the moral value is in this case become just a camouflage. So this is the major problem affecting majority of this type of profession. Right, still you have people who would just join and be a nice boy, a nice guy, and these nice people are around, they contributed, some of them contributed and leave the profession or leave the society lah, because they are senior and they are just taking a rest now. There are juniors that do not want to join because they don't see any benefit. For one that who actually join, there are hundreds who never join this society. And the reason they give is usually excuses that the society is not representing them, the society is not fighting for their rights. Of course, the society doesn't have the ways to bring in the businesses for them. Anyway, the wrong is still blamed to the society. So yet there are some who still join, and the reason I would say that this is an example. Most follow their leaders. If their leader join because of their leaders' influence, they will just follow. So senior negotiators, sometimes they join and become the member of the society. It's also because of their principal, and their principal taking part in the society, being given the role as a committee member or a executive committee, being president or being chairperson of the society, then definitely the principal wants their followers also to join this association. But in the end, whether these followers are just following instruction and following the order of their bosses, I put down here, usually obligated to their political bosses. And the end is they may have good intention, but then at the end no good result, because they is just doing it for showing that they are obligated. So at the end, most society will end up just pushing on as, face value, as a recognition of a professionalism and for the name of being a professional. But at the end, when it comes to business, anything also can. So what is in it for me, a reason of joining, I will list it down here. Most of the time we will join because it is networking, get to know the seniors, and if in aspect of estate agency and you are one of the PEA around, then you probably want to join because you want to get to know the examiner, so that you'll be accepted by the peers and also the industry, as well as getting to know what are things that is in the industry news. Similarly, you may also talk to seniors and get some knowledge of the unwritten rules as well as unspoken practices. So these are my summaries. Summaries here, just want to actually dissect the issue of ethical business of society. So it's actually contradicting in a lot of types of profession with business, because the moral value seems to be embraced as a higher standard in the profession, but then the business value being the major reason is actually a myth, because at any time the business value is more sought after by the members rather than the moral value. Then the benefit and the money is actually at the end the ultimate winner. When things has to be go down to dollar and cent, as I given example of conferences, successful events. Business and reality of the healthcare have given us the very cruel and also very reality of the situation of moral and healthcare. And the business of real estate versus the professionalism in the practice is really something which is hard to achieve. Population at the end is the driver of the reason why there is business in demand, business of medicine, business of new invention, and also the business of property. A reason why they still join society, as I given some summaries at the end. They are what are the seems to be small benefit for the people who join the societies. My solution is that if you are in the society and you are doing your work for the society, don't expect too much. Expect only from yourself, and do it when you think it is right. Don't judge others, and also try to be forgiving and forgetting. Let's move on. If there is any issue you cannot be solved, that cannot be solved, let's move on. So my platforms are here as in data capture for contract to you, as well as findway.info for the listing of property as well as other advertisements. Similar, I have estate agent exam for a platform for study of the estate agent's examination to qualify as a registered estate agent, and also the one blog which is My Real Property Online, as I put my write-up as well as my videos for listeners like you. Thank you very much for coming to my channel. I am Thomasim E3009. I'm listed here for my websites as well as my mobile numbers. Thank you for coming in.